that there was a natural area on the earth that the Temple Mount was deliberately built around.
Everything began with something as simple as replacing a carpet. A routine restoration inside Jerusalem's Dome of the Rock took a surprising turn. As workers rolled back old carpets, they uncovered something stunning beneath their feet. Hidden for generations were vibrant Byzantine mosaics, some still intact, others fractured like ancient secrets. The discovery sent ripples through the archaeological world. What else lay beneath this iconic shrine, long protected and rarely disturbed? Suddenly, a place known more for its spiritual power became the center of scientific curiosity. And what scientists have found is unbelievable. 20th century discoveries and excavations. The Dome of the Rock is more than just a religious monument. It stands at the heart of one of the most disputed and revered pieces of land on Earth. Jews believe it is the site where Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac and where the ancient temples once stood. Muslims revere it as the place from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven during the night journey. Christians, too, see the hilltop as part of their holy heritage. With so much meaning layered into one location, it's no wonder that science, politics, and faith often collide here. For centuries, what's beneath the dome has captured imaginations. Stories of hidden chambers, ancient altars, and secret scrolls have inspired explorers and mystics alike. Over the years, archaeologists and scientists have tried to study what lies underneath, but always under tight restrictions, often without formal permission, and rarely with public support. Political tensions have only made things more complicated. Despite these barriers, discoveries have surfaced. Ground-penetrating radar, careful sifting of displaced earth, and even old excavation notes have started to paint a clearer picture of what lies beneath the Golden Dome. The results are nothing short of astonishing. Beneath this ancient structure is a network of secrets, some carved in stone, others hinted at in ancient texts, and many still waiting to be uncovered. What scientists and archaeologists have found under the dome isn't just unbelievable. It's history, faith, and science converging in the most unexpected ways. While much of the Dome of the Rock's mystery lies underground, most of what we know today about what's beneath it comes not from modern high-tech surveys, but from work done nearly a century ago. The 20th century brought a mix of curiosity, adventure, politics, and archaeology to the site. Some efforts were well documented and systematic, while others were secretive, controversial, or simply abandoned. Still, together, they left behind a trail of evidence that's slowly being pieced together. One of the earliest and most detailed efforts came from Charles Warren, a British engineer and officer who conducted deep underground explorations in the 60s and 70s under the direction of the Palestine Exploration Fund. While this technically predates the 20th century, his findings would shape much of the exploration that followed in the next few decades. Warren documented underground cisterns, shafts, water channels, and tunnels around the Temple Mount. He wasn't allowed to dig directly beneath the dome itself, but he got close enough to describe features that still intrigue archaeologists today. During the British Mandate period in the early 20th century, the site came under British administrative control. A new wave of exploration began, though again under strict limitations due to religious sensitivities. In 1927, a powerful earthquake struck Jerusalem, causing significant damage to the Dome of the Rock and nearby structures. Restoration was urgently needed, and in the process, previously hidden architectural features came to light, including some of the building's original Umayyad-era materials. Then came the efforts of R.W. Hamilton, a British archaeologist and inspector of antiquities. In the 30s, Hamilton oversaw repairs on the dome and took the rare opportunity to examine some of the areas beneath its floor. His reports, while limited in scope and cautious in tone, included descriptions of ancient mosaics and building foundations that seemed to date back to the Byzantine period, or possibly earlier. His notes mentioned beautifully laid floors beneath layers of rubble, patterns reminiscent of church art, and fragments of carved stone that didn't match the known Islamic design. This raised questions about what kind of building had once stood there before the dome was constructed in the late 600s. One of the most whispered about episodes in the 20th century happened in 1911, when a group of British treasure hunters, acting without formal archaeological oversight, secretly entered the Well of Souls, the cavern located directly beneath the foundation stone. This chamber had long been the subject of rumors and legends. Some believed it was where the Ark of the Covenant was hidden. Others speculated it led to a vast underground complex filled with religious relics. The group used ropes and chisels to access the chamber and reportedly searched for treasure or relics, but were quickly stopped when word got out. Their dig caused outrage across the religious communities, sparking protests and a strong reaction from both Islamic authorities and the British government. It was a reminder that while the curiosity of explorers is natural, it doesn't always mix well with the sensitivities of sacred sites. Later in the century, specifically in 1959, engineers conducting maintenance work on the dome's plumbing system discovered more unexpected features beneath the floor. There were sections of ancient pavement, and beneath those, signs of earlier construction, perhaps even predating the Islamic period. Unfortunately, these discoveries were not extensively documented at the time, and access to them remains off-limits to most researchers today. Another interesting moment came in the 80s, when Israeli archaeologists began conducting radar and seismic scans of the area surrounding the dome. Though they could not physically excavate the platform due to political and religious restrictions, the scans revealed strange underground anomalies. There appeared to be large empty spaces, possibly rooms or chambers, beneath the platform, though no one could confirm what they were. This only fueled speculation. Were they storage rooms from Herod's time, burial chambers, natural caves, or something else entirely? Then, in the 90s, a major controversy erupted. In 1999, the Islamic Waqf, the religious body that administers the site, conducted a construction project at Solomon's Stables, a large underground vault at the southeastern corner of the Temple Mount. They removed thousands of tons of earth in a matter of days, dumping it in the nearby Kidron Valley. Israeli archaeologists and historians were alarmed. They claimed that valuable archaeological material had been destroyed or scattered. In response, a group of archaeologists launched what became known as the Temple Mount Sifting Project, a massive effort to go through the dumped soil piece by piece. More on that in the next section, but for now, it's important to recognize how this incident marked a turning point. It brought global attention to the fragile balance between preservation and political control at the site. Perhaps one of the most underappreciated 20th century discoveries came not from excavation, but from a photograph. In the 50s, a black-and-white aerial photograph of the Temple Mount, taken from a military balloon, showed faint outlines of buried structures that didn't match the known Islamic or medieval Christian layout. Some believed these were the foundations of the Second Temple. Others thought they were remnants of Roman military buildings. The truth remains unclear, but the photograph sparked renewed interest in non-invasive archaeological methods, especially for sites where digging is not permitted. All throughout the 20th century, discoveries under the Dome of the Rock were shaped by restrictions, secrecy, and chance. Whether it was a cracked floor tile revealing a mosaic or a maintenance project uncovering a forgotten cistern. The most significant findings often came not from carefully planned digs, but from unexpected moments of access. Each new glimpse only added to the legend. It's important to note that while much has been revealed, a great deal remains unknown. Scientists and archaeologists are still working to piece together what these earlier discoveries mean. Every fragment, every floor tile, every piece of column or pottery tells a story, but the full picture has yet to emerge. And so, the Dome of the Rock continues to guard its secrets, even as each generation uncovers a little bit more. What happened in the past? Long before the shining golden dome became an iconic symbol of Jerusalem, this hilltop was already considered sacred ground. It sits on what is known as the Temple Mount to Jews, Haram al-Sharif to Muslims, and the Mount Moriah in biblical tradition. No matter the name, its significance runs deep. At the center of the platform is the foundation stone, a large outcrop of natural rock that many traditions hold to be the spiritual center of the world. In Jewish tradition, this is the spot where Abraham was prepared to sacrifice his son Isaac, a test of faith recorded in the book of Genesis. It is also believed to be the location where the first temple, built by King Solomon, stood around the 10th century BCE, followed centuries later by the Second Temple, which was expanded under King Herod, before being destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. For Muslims, the rock holds a different but equally powerful meaning. According to Islamic tradition, it marks the place from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended into heaven during the night journey, accompanied by the angel Gabriel. This miraculous event gave the site its lasting spiritual significance in Islam and led to the construction of the Dome of the Rock in the late 7th century by the Umayyad Caliph Abd al-Malik. It remains one of the oldest standing Islamic monuments in the world. Over the centuries, control of the site changed hands many times. From Jewish kingdoms to Roman conquerors, from Christian crusaders to Islamic dynasties, and eventually the Ottoman Empire, each group added to, altered, or preserved parts of the structure and its surroundings. These shifts in control left behind a complex patchwork of history. Layers of architecture, art, and cultural influences built one on top of another. Beneath the surface lies even more mystery. There are old reports of cisterns, tunnels, chambers, and even a cavern known as the Well of Souls, a dark chamber beneath the foundation stone that some believe was used in ancient times for religious rituals or as a burial chamber. Legends surround it. Some claim it holds the Ark of the Covenant, others that it connects to secret underground passages leading all the way to the Dead Sea. Many of these stories have never been proven, partly because access to the area beneath the dome is strictly controlled. Religious sensitivities and political tensions have long limited archaeological work on the Temple Mount, especially near or under the dome itself. Yet, despite these challenges, bits and pieces of the site's long and layered history continue to emerge, from ancient inscriptions to fragments of pottery, broken columns, and beautiful mosaics that hint at the splendor of past civilizations. This is the backdrop against which scientists and archaeologists are working today. With every new discovery, they're not just uncovering artifacts. They're peeling back the layers of one of the most sacred and contested places in the world. Modern sifting projects. While much of what was discovered in the 20th century came from scattered documentation and limited digs, the 21st century brought something new to the story. Something far more methodical, large-scale, and surprisingly grassroots. It wasn't a government-funded excavation or a high-tech expedition that changed the game. Instead, it was a quiet project that began with a pile of dumped earth. In 1999, as mentioned earlier, the Islamic Waqf carried out construction work under the Temple Mount, specifically inside a vaulted area known as Solomon's Stables. In the process, they removed around 400 truckloads of earth from the site, without any archaeological oversight. This dirt, hauled away and discarded in the Kidron Valley, might have been lost forever, except that a group of archaeologists stepped in. Led by Dr. Gabriel Barquet and Zaki Devira, the Temple Mount Sifting Project was launched in 2004. It began as a desperate attempt to recover whatever might have been thrown away. With little money and no official permits to dig on the Temple Mount itself, they did the next best thing. They sifted through the discarded soil, bucket by bucket. At first, the project was small. Volunteers gathered to help sift through the rubble. But as the word spread, and as the artifacts began to appear, the project grew. Over the years, more than 200,000 people, students, tourists, locals, scholars, have taken part in the sifting. What they found was astonishing. From tiny objects came massive insights. Thousands of artifacts have emerged from the soil. Pottery shards from nearly every period of Jerusalem's long history. Coins dating back to the time of the Hasmoneans and Romans. Arrowheads, weights, seals, fragments of ancient floor tiles, and even pieces of Christian and Islamic relics. These weren't just random items. Many of them came from clear historical periods, including the First Temple period, which dates back nearly 3,000 years. One of the most significant finds was a small clay seal impression known as a bulla, possibly used to seal documents. The bulla bore the name of a royal official from the time of the kings of Judah. Another remarkable discovery was a Crusader-era cross, likely worn as a pendant by a Christian knight, who once walked the very grounds now occupied by the dome. Each item, small as it might seem, provided a direct link to a human being who once lived, ruled, fought, or prayed on the Temple Mount. More recent periods were represented too. Islamic-era ceramic tiles, some believed to be part of the original Dome of the Rock decoration, turned up in the debris. There were also Mamluk and Ottoman coins, confirming the continued importance of the site over a millennium and more. What's particularly fascinating is that these items weren't uncovered through traditional archaeological digs. They were recovered through painstaking sorting, sifting earth by hand, washing debris, and cataloging every tiny find. It's archaeology in reverse. Instead of digging down layer by layer, researchers are trying to reconstruct a destroyed context, figuring out what came from where and when. The process wasn't easy. Since the earth had been mixed and moved, the stratigraphy, that is, the vertical layering that normally helps archaeologists date and contextualize artifacts, was gone. Researchers had to rely heavily on typology, the study of artifact shapes and materials, comparison with other sites, and radiocarbon testing when possible. Even so, the discoveries spoke volumes. In total, over 500,000 artifact fragments have been identified, dated, and stored. Some have gone on display in exhibitions, others are still being studied, but all of them help tell the story of a site that has been in continuous use for over 3,000 years. The project also inspired new ways of thinking about public archaeology. Because of its location and the political complexities involved, the Temple Mount has often been off-limits to archaeological science. But the Sifting Project offered a kind of workaround, one that not only recovered valuable information, but also engaged the public in meaningful ways. Visitors from all over the world could touch history, connect with the land, and contribute to real research. The significance of these finds can't be overstated. Until the Sifting Project began, there was little physical evidence directly linked to the First Temple or even the Second Temple on the Temple Mount itself. Most of what we knew came from ancient texts, religious tradition, or nearby structures. Suddenly, with a piece of pottery here, a coin there, and a royal seal fragment hidden in a clump of earth, the history became much more tangible. There were also surprising discoveries that no one expected. For example, some of the stones showed signs of ancient tool marks, suggesting that construction on the mount may have started even earlier than previously thought. Others hinted at periods of destruction. Burn marks on pottery and ash traces suggested fires that may align with known invasions and temple destructions. In a few rare cases, volunteers stumbled upon architectural fragments, including bits of column capitals, colorful floor tiles, and marble inlay pieces. These may have once decorated great buildings that stood where the Dome of the Rock now rises. Some of the tile pieces appear to match descriptions of ornate flooring used in Herod's renovation of the Second Temple, described by the Jewish historian Josephus. Yet despite the wealth of findings, many questions remain. What exactly did the first temple look like? What rituals were performed on the foundation stone? Did Roman or Byzantine structures exist here before the dome was built? The sifting project provides clues, but not complete answers. What it does show, clearly and powerfully, is that the Temple Mount, despite centuries of conflict and limited excavation, still holds rich archaeological evidence waiting to be uncovered, even from discarded soil. It also demonstrates that even under tight restrictions, science can find creative ways to uncover history without disturbing sacred ground. The Temple Mount Sifting Project continues today, now relocated to a site in Emek Tzurim National Park. Though funding has been inconsistent and political tensions have at times threatened to shut it down, the project has endured. Enter science and technology. While the Dome of the Rock itself may be one of the most spiritually charged places in the world, it's also one of the most challenging for science. Archaeologists can't just bring in a backhoe and start digging. The religious and political tensions surrounding the site are simply too high. That's where modern technology comes in. Over the past few decades, scientists have increasingly turned to non-invasive methods to study what lies beneath the dome without disturbing it physically. These tools allow them to look under the surface, detect voids or structures, and gather data without digging a single shovel of dirt. It's not perfect, but it's a valuable workaround in a place where traditional excavation is nearly impossible. One of the most widely used techniques is ground-penetrating radar, GPR. GPR sends electromagnetic waves into the ground and measures how they bounce back. By analyzing those signals, researchers can detect underground chambers, foundations, walls, and voids. GPR has been used extensively around the Temple Mount and has revealed some fascinating features. In areas near the dome, GPR scans have picked up signals that suggest the presence of large rectangular rooms beneath the surface. Some are believed to be ancient water cisterns, possibly dating back to the Second Temple period or even earlier. Others remain unidentified. One intriguing anomaly beneath the foundation stone has been interpreted by some as a natural cave, possibly the Well of Souls, while others believe it could be a man-made chamber. In addition to radar, scientists have used seismic and acoustic scanning. These techniques involve sending vibrations into the ground and listening for how they echo. Like radar, they help map underground spaces. Combined with GPR, they allow for multi-layered models of what's under the mount. Another major tool is LiDAR, light detection and ranging, which uses laser light to measure distances and create high-resolution maps. While LiDAR is more commonly used for surface mapping, it's been applied in some cases to scan structures like ancient walls, steps, and corridors in the surrounding areas. In 3D, these scans can recreate entire buildings, as they may have appeared in the past. For dating materials, archaeologists still rely on more traditional tools, like radiocarbon dating. Even though they can't sample material directly from the Temple Mount, they can date artifacts found nearby or in related debris, like the soil from the Temple Mount sifting project. Tiny pieces of burnt wood, olive pits, and other organic matter can be analyzed to determine their age within a few decades of accuracy. Typology is another classic method that still plays a major role. This involves identifying the style and design of objects, pottery, coins, tiles, and tools, to determine their historical period. For example, a particular kind of Roman coin might help date a layer of earth, while a certain ceramic design could link an area to the Byzantine era. There's also been growing interest in digital reconstruction. Using all the data collected, from radar scans to historical drawings and ancient texts, researchers can build virtual models of what the Temple Mount might have looked like during different periods. These models help scholars understand how the site evolved over time and how various structures overlapped or replaced each other. Despite the impressive technology, researchers still face limitations. Much of the Temple Mount remains a no-go zone for archaeological work, especially beneath the dome of the rock. Religious authorities are understandably cautious about any intrusion that could disturb the sanctity of the site or cause political unrest. That's why most of the radar scans and mapping projects are conducted just outside the central platform, or are done unofficially and published only years later. Even so, the science is advancing. Some researchers have proposed using subterranean drones, small robotic devices that could be sent through natural openings or pre-existing channels to map unseen chambers. While still in development, such technology could one day provide images of places no human has entered in centuries. Ultimately, science has proven that even without traditional digging, it's possible to explore and understand what lies under one of the most mysterious religious structures in the world. Technology has become the archaeologist's scalpel, a way to peel back layers of time without damaging the patient. And while we still can't say with certainty what every void, tunnel, or chamber is for, each scan brings us one step closer to understanding the full story of the Dome of the Rock: politics, religion, and ethics. Now, it's impossible to talk about the Dome of the Rock without talking about politics and religion. Archaeology doesn't happen in a vacuum, especially not here. The site is located at the center of one of the most contested places on Earth, the Temple Mount, or Haram al-Sharif, depending on whom you ask. It's sacred to Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike, which means that every stone carries weight far beyond its historical value. Because of this, archaeology here is not just science, it's a delicate dance involving religious authorities, government agencies, international organizations, and deeply held beliefs. The Islamic Waqf, a religious trust based in Jordan, has administered the Dome of the Rock and the surrounding compound since the 12th century. Under an arrangement with the Israeli government after 1967, the Waqf maintains day-to-day control of the site, while Israeli police provide security. This balance of power is fragile, and any perceived change, whether it's a renovation, a construction project, or an archaeological survey, can trigger political outcry and even violence. This is one reason why formal archaeological excavations under the Dome of the Rock are almost unheard of. To dig there would be seen by many Muslims as an intrusion into a sacred space. For Jews, the site is equally sacred, traditionally considered the location of the first and second temples. Yet, Jewish religious law also warns against walking on the Temple Mount itself for fear of entering the Holy of Holies, the most sacred area of the ancient temple, which was only accessible to high priests. Because of this religious tension, archaeology on the Temple Mount is tightly restricted, and in many cases, completely forbidden. This has led to frustration among scientists and historians who know that beneath this platform lie answers to some of the oldest questions in biblical history. But at the same time, many acknowledge that science must respect the religious significance of the place. You can't study the site without acknowledging the beliefs that surround it. And then there's the politics. When the Islamic Waqf carried out its 1999 construction work at Solomon's Stables, removing tons of earth from the Temple Mount without archaeological supervision, it sparked outrage among Israeli archaeologists. They accused the Waqf of destroying historical material, intentionally or not. The Waqf, on the other hand, argued it had the right to maintain and expand worship spaces for Muslims without outside interference. The aftermath of that event led to the creation of the Temple Mount Sifting project, which we covered earlier. But it also led to greater tension between groups who saw archaeology either as a form of preservation or as a political weapon. International bodies like UNESCO have also gotten involved. In 2016, a resolution passed by the UNESCO Executive Board referred to the Temple Mount primarily by its Islamic name, Haram al-Sharif, and did not use its Jewish name at all. This sparked widespread criticism from Israel and from Jewish communities around the world, who felt it erased Jewish historical ties to the site. Supporters of the resolution said it was meant to reflect the reality of current management and protect Islamic heritage. This kind of controversy shows how even something as seemingly neutral as a name can carry enormous symbolic weight. All of this puts archaeologists in a difficult position. On one hand, they're driven by a desire to understand history, to learn what people built, how they lived, what they believed. On the other hand, they must navigate a complex web of religious sensitivities, legal restrictions, and political pressures. Many scholars now advocate for what they call shared heritage. This idea recognizes that the Dome of the Rock and the larger Temple Mount area are important to multiple religions and cultures. Instead of claiming ownership, they suggest that these sites be treated as global treasures, studied carefully, preserved respectfully, and appreciated by all. That approach isn't easy. It requires trust, cooperation, and above all, patience. But in a place where the past is never just the past, and where every stone means something to someone, it may be the only way forward. What's left to explore? Despite everything scientists, historians, and archaeologists have uncovered about the Dome of the Rock and what lies beneath it, the site remains one of the great unsolved puzzles of the ancient world. There are still unanswered questions about the exact structure of the first and second temples, the purpose of the underground chambers, and whether relics like the Ark of the Covenant ever rested on that very stone. Yet the story is far from over. As technology advances, so does the possibility of non-invasive exploration. Tools like enhanced radar scanning, digital modeling, and even subterranean robotics may one day help scientists unlock secrets currently hidden in stone and shadow. At the same time, projects like the Temple Mount Sifting project show that even discarded debris can speak volumes, providing connections to people and periods long forgotten. What's emerging isn't just a clearer picture of ancient Jerusalem, but a reminder of how layered, complex, and deeply human history really is. What scientists have found under the Dome of the Rock isn't just unbelievable because of its mystery or grandeur. It's unbelievable because it reflects thousands of years of faith, conflict, craftsmanship, and survival. The site has been destroyed, rebuilt, revered, and contested, but never abandoned. As each generation brings new tools and new eyes to the mountain, the dome continues to whisper its secrets, slowly, cautiously, but never without awe. Subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.